Hello students, I am Dr.V.Premalapriyadharsini here to teach you on functions of management in food service. To give you a prelude, we are going to see briefly the introduction on management, the objectives, functional component of management, and of course a summary of what you have learnt. Very often, and in fact we all practice management subconsciously. Aren't we managing our day-to-day work? And as a student, don't you manage your lesson, time, friends to the best of your knowledge? Yes. Many a times you achieve what you want and sometimes you fumble, but nevertheless you learn from your mistakes. Now, you would have got your clues right. Yes, management is an act of effective utilization of resources, carefully structured with constructive plans of action towards achievement of a common goal. To make it clear, let me give you an example of preparing a dish, say palak paneer. Now, to achieve your goal of preparing palak paneer, you need to buy palak, paneer, butter and other ingredients. And of course, you can't just add them like that, isn't it? You have to follow the correct step of combining the ingredients. So, palak, paneer, butter and the ingredients are your resources. The method of preparing the dish in your structured plan of action, and the cooked dish is the goal that you achieve. Every challenge and a solution to a problem yields itself in the birth of a new management principle or concept. Though there are no ready-made templates for management principles or concept as they keep varying from institutions to institutions, the past experience of an individual or an establishment can serve as an excellent guidelines for the success of any business. With this background, the current module will make you gain knowledge on various functions of management, its importance in managing a food service institution. To start with, let us move on to the functional components of management. You must have learned the classification of food service industry, different types of hotels, their organizational setup, and the duties and responsibilities of food service personnel in your previous module. Students, I want you to understand that food service industry with its wide range of products ranging from a star category of hotel to a roadside eatery can function effectively only when an employee is given a harmonious environment by his manager. Basically, there are 6 important functions that aids in effective management of food service operation. They are planning, organizing, directing, coordinating, controlling and evaluation. Recently, 2 more functions, namely staffing and representing, have also been included. I hope you will agree with me that planning and organizing needs an in-depth mental framework with minute detailing of activities to be performed, while the rest of the function calls for an intense interaction between employer and the employee. With this background, let us learn all the 6 functions of management in detail. The first and foremost function of management is planning. Planning simply refers to knowing what to do, why to do, how to do, when to do, where to do and by whom. Though planning literally implies futuristic activities, it is always done based on past experience and performance of an institution. For a better understanding on planning, let me give you an example. Imagine that you are asked to plan a menu for a 3-star hotel and you are given a list of 10 dishes, say a veg clear soup, hot and soft chicken soup, veg pulao, egg biryani, gobi manchurian, chicken tikka, paneer butter masala, naan, faluda and chocolate cake, out of which you are asked to select 5 dishes. What do? Won't you check the popularity of the menu from the list, their demands, sales of the individual item and the profit? Yeah. To predict the future sales of the selected 5 food groups, you would have actually reviewed the past performance of the 10 food products. I think now you have got it right. Planning involves 3 steps. They are knowledge hunt, mapping and target fixing. What is knowledge hunting? It is an extensive search of information. Food service personnel try to collect as much as information as possible before setting up a food service outlet. Thus, a knowledge hunt on basic rules and regulations of hospitality industry, policies on building standards, availability of resources, funding agencies, their funding policies, manpower requirement, food service methods, size of clientele and volume of business is carried out as a primitive step for planning. The information gathered enables the food service personnel to make smart choices on course of actions to be taken. Having seen the knowledge hunt, let us now move on to the next step of planning, the mapping. Mapping refers to the development of a blueprint. To be precise, after knowledge hunt, the food service personnel actually does the following. He or she frames organizational rules, finalizes structural standards, arrives at norms for generation and utilization of resources, develops funding policies for budget, does manpower detailing, selects style of service and predicts profit margin. You're right. Now we are into the third step of planning, the target fixing or goal setting. As you all know, it is very important for any food service outlet to fix its targets clearly. Targets are the basis of any achievement. Be it any kind of business, target fixing is of 3 types. They are short-term targets, medium-term targets and long-term targets. Short-term targets is the one that is fixed for a shorter duration of time, say from 6 months to a year. As a food service is highly perishable and its cost keeps fluctuating, it is always advisable to set more short-term goals in a food service operation. Do you want to have an idea about some of the short-term targets? Looking at the figure, you can see that menu planning, prediction of customers' turn-in and turn-out, staffing requirements and sales of food and beverage are some of the short-term targets. This is because a customer will get bored if the same menu is given for 4 or 5 years. Hence, it must be planned for a shorter duration. Also, we cannot expect the same number of customers to turn in and turn out since it depends on many factors. Based on the customers and change in menu, the staffing requirement will naturally vary, isn't it? Ultimately, the sales of food and beverage depends on other 3 factors. Hence, target for the above factors can be set only for a shorter duration. I hope you are clear with the short-term targets. Can we move on to the next target? Medium targets. Targets that are fixed for a duration of 1 to 5 years are called medium targets. Some of the examples are methods of purchasing, quality standards, gross sales, purchase of portable equipments, financial requirements and sales promotion. And the last kind of target is long-term target. Targets that are set for a period of 5 to 10 years are called as long-term targets. As you see, some of the long-term targets are capital investment, personnel policies, marketing policies and profit margin. Since planning infrastructure and purchase of equipment demands a very high investment, it requires long-term planning. Students, always keep in mind that a food service institution will have to do all the 3 types of target fixing for its successful growth. On the whole, fixing a target for a food service institution should be specific, measurable, attainable, rewarding and timed. Thus, a good planning will help the institution in effective time management, identification of futuristic challenges and scopes for improvement, enhancement of better work efficiency, elimination of confusion or ambiguity, and it serves as a guideline for cost control measures. We have come to the second function of management, the organizing. Organizing is translation of a plan into specific activities arranged in sequential order for smooth flow of work. Organizing involves smart decisions on division of activities or tasks, segregation of skilled persons for the identified task, identification of duties, responsibilities and performance outcome, assignment of power of authority and delegation. Is it confusing? Oh no. Let me explain it to you with an example. I hope you are aware of food and beverage department. Yes, you're right. A department which sells food and beverage in a hotel or a restaurant. The task of serving a food in a restaurant is broken down into two activities, namely mise en place and mise en scene. Mise en scene, which means preparing the environment, involves cleaning the restaurant, checking the ambience, switching on the air conditioners and so on. Likewise, mise en place means preparing the table for service, which involves laying the table, setting the cover and filling the water jug. To carry out mise en scene and mise en place, a trainee or a waiter will be employed respectively and they will be given the authority, that is, the permission to perform their respective task. Was that clear? Now, can we move on to the next function of management? Directing literally means assignment of work and performance of our actual task. Food service managers normally use 5 techniques to direct his, her or her employee towards achievement of a common goal. They are instructing, guiding, supervising, teaching and reviewing. Let us now learn the relevance of these techniques in detail. Under instructing, a food service manager normally gives a detailed instruction of activities to be performed for every worked out plan. This is because in a hotel, the skills, the level of competency, qualification and ability to understand vary from individual to individual. Thus, simple and clear instructions will enable an employee to understand his duties and responsibilities better. While instructing, a manager will also interact with the employee and clear their doubts and queries. Also, in many hotels, you can find instructional manuals and charts placed at different points of work area. Was that easy? So what next? Yeah, guiding is a process of motivating an employee by giving constructive suggestions to achieve the desired performance. You know, guiding also removes the fear of underperformance amongst employees. And the third technique is supervising. It sounds familiar, doesn't it? It generally implies a constant monitoring of tasks performed by an employee. Supervision is carried out in many ways. A food service manager supervises his or her employee by watching and complimenting them. Often, words of appreciation like excellent, very good, good and well done will motivate the employee's performance level. Also, a food service manager may choose to go for a regular rounds to observe and evaluate the performance level of an employee in terms of sales volume, profit margin and customers' feedback. Was that interesting? Can we move on to teaching? As a part of directing, food service personnel are educated to organize work efficiently, conserve energy, manage time, and keep up deadlines by effective planning and execution. The fifth and the last technique of directing is reviewing. Here, the total performance of an individual or an activity is assessed, and it enables the management to assess the quality of work, identify areas of improvement, assess the performance ability of an individual, and helps to develop training components. We have now reached the fourth functional component of management, the coordinating. What does coordinating mean? When a group of people work together harmoniously towards a common goal, they are said to be coordinated. Remember that coordination should take place between individuals and departments. So, coordinating makes an institution efficient, strengthens the establishment, enhances employees' loyalty and goodwill, fosters teamwork, creates better understanding, and of course establishes a positive work environment. Never forget that lack of coordination leads to poor work efficiency, quality, and ultimately results in customer dissatisfaction. Let me explain the importance of coordination with an example. By looking at these two figures, you can understand that in figure 1, the front office department needs to coordinate with the housekeeping, laundry, food and beverage, room service, finance department to sell the room. Similarly, from the second figure, you can also find that a food production department should coordinate with the departments of sales and purchase, food and beverage, storage, and finance for sales of food and beverage. Now you have got it? Can we move on to the fifth functions of management? Yeah, you guessed it right. It's controlling. Even a meticulous planning may not come to reality unless and until it is monitored and controlled properly. Control gives the correct direction to the planned activities. You know, the food service institution faces many challenges like market fluctuation, natural calamities, environmental changes, staff attrition, and so on, which results in poor work efficiency. Therefore, controlling enables the management to identify the factors that affects its overall growth. It helps in identifying the threat or problem in a business. To overcome these problems, you can practice controlling by measuring the performance outcome of an institution in terms of profit, identifying the gaps, comparing standard product with that of the actual produce, doing a cost analysis to find out the reasons for diversion in standard, and fixing the problem by adopting proper corrective measures. Along with this, you can also do constant monitoring, meticulous planning and formulation of budget, strict supervision, adoption of appropriate security measures, maintenance of equipments, and effective utilization of resources. In a nutshell, controlling involves cost control, manpower management, and resource management. Finally, we have come to the sixth function of management, the evaluation, which literally means the overall rating of performance outcome. What do you think we need to evaluate? We need to evaluate employee, work condition, food product, and profit. Now let me discuss them briefly. The performance level of an employee is assessed using staff appraisal. Very rarely, they are also assessed using a checklist or a rating scale. Be it any area, whether a kitchen or a service area, the evaluation on cleanliness, ventilation, lighting, and for other safety and security measures are done. As you all know, food is evaluated for its taste, flavor, color and odor. Sometimes it is also evaluated for quality attributes like consistency, viscosity, strength and crispness, and the list is endless. Students, most of the time food is evaluated for its nutritional adequacy. We normally use chemical estimations to find out the protein, calorie, fat, vitamin and mineral content of the food cooked. Finally, the profitability of the food service institution is evaluated by measuring the sales volume and the profit. To summarize, let us not forget that all the 6 functions of management are highly interrelated. Managers or management cannot sustain in the market by merely choosing 1 or 2 functions. In fact, no one function can operate in isolation or in a set manner. Their usage and adaptability varies from institutions to institutions based on the nature of task and the target set. Achievements of set goals are possible only when all the functions are performed at all levels of organization. Remember, though it is easy to learn the functions of management, only experience, confidence, positive attitude, presence of mind, credibility and a good decision making makes an individual a good manager. Thank you students for listening, and I hope you have understood all the 6 functions of management in food service.